You know what's great about being the worst cadet in the history of the Galactic Academy's elite combat training program? The constant reminder that you're terrible at everything. My name is Luna Martinez, and I have the upper body strength of a wet noodle and the combat reflexes of a sedated sloth. Martinez. Commander Brix Thornwall barked, his four muscular arms crossed in obvious disgust. Drop and give me 20 push-ups. I dropped. Unfortunately, I stayed dropped. The standard-issue plasma rifle I'd been attempting to hold fell on my head with a metallic clank that echoed through the training facility like a dinner bell for failure. Pathetic, sneered Zara Vex, the Academy's golden reptilian cadet who could bench press a shuttlecraft. Humans are clearly an evolutionary mistake. How did your species even survive natural selection? Pure spite. I wheezed from the floor, earning snickers from the other cadets. Even my best friend Tommy Tank Rodriguez, who had the build of a refrigerator and the brain of a particularly dense brick, looked embarrassed by association. Martinez, you're washing out tomorrow, Thornwall announced. Pack your bags. The Academy doesn't have time for weaklings who can't even. That's when the emergency klaxon started wailing. Red lights bathed the training facility as Admiral Cottostone's voice boomed over the intercom. All cadets report to Briefing Room Alpha immediately. Code red threat level. Ancient entities known as Pyrathi have awakened and are attacking outer colonies. Thornwall's expression shifted from disgusted to deadly serious. Move it, cadets. This is not a drill. As everyone rushed toward the briefing room, I struggled to my feet, still seeing stars from my encounter with the plasma rifle. Ancient dragon-like creatures attacking colonies? Great. Just when I thought my day couldn't get worse, the universe decided to throw in some actual dragons. Hey Luna, Tommy whispered as we jogged behind the group. At least you won't have to worry about washing out if we're all about to die, right? Thanks, Tank. Your optimism is truly inspiring. The briefing room was packed with cadets, instructors, and senior officers. Holographic displays showed devastating footage of massive, serpentine creatures with crystalline scales laying waste to colonial settlements. Their roars echoed through the speakers like the sound of reality itself being torn apart. The Pyrathi have been dormant for over 1,000 years, Admiral Stone explained, her weathered face grim. We have no idea what woke them up, but they're systematically destroying every human outpost in the Outer Rim. Our weapons appear to be ineffective against their energy shields. Zara raised her clawed hand. What about negotiation? Have we attempted communication? Every attempt at communication has resulted in increased aggression. It's as if they're offended by our very existence. I slumped in my chair, watching the destruction unfold on screen. Tomorrow I'd be kicked out of the Academy for being too weak to hold a gun, and today I was watching humanity's potential extinction. The irony wasn't lost on me that I'd finally found something I was worse at than combat training timing. But as I watched those magnificent, terrifying creatures tear through our defenses like tissue paper, something nagged at me. The way they moved, the patterns of their attacks, the sounds they made. It all seemed so deliberate, like they were trying to tell us something. Of course, nobody would listen to the girl who couldn't do a push-up. Why would they? The next morning, I was supposed to be packing my pathetic belongings and catching the next transport back to Earth. Instead, I found myself in the Academy's tech lab, staring at a pile of broken universal translator components. I can't believe you broke it just by touching it, muttered Quinn Starweaver, the Academy's head tech specialist. He was a nervous, six-armed insectoid who always looked like he was about to have a panic attack. I swear, Martinez, you're cursed. Every piece of equipment you touch turns to scrap metal. It was an accident, I protested, though honestly my track record with technology was about as impressive as my combat skills. I was just trying to take notes during the briefing when the stylus slipped and somehow managed to short-circuit the entire translation matrix, Quinn finished. Do you have any idea how long it'll take to fix this? We're talking about recalibrating 17 different linguistic algorithms. While Quinn ranted about quantum syntax processors and probability matrices, I picked up one of the broken components. It was still crackling with residual energy, and for some reason I could hear something in that static. Voices. Familiar voices. The Pyrathi communications from yesterday's briefing. "Quinn," I said slowly, "what if we don't fix it?" "What do you mean, don't fix it?" "It's broken. Unfunctional. About as useful as a chocolate teapot." "But what if the break is actually helping somehow?" I held up the crackling component. "Listen." Through the static we could hear fragments of the Pyrathi transmissions. But instead of the aggressive roars everyone else heard, I was picking up something different. Patterns. Rhythms. Almost like language. "That's impossible," Quinn said, but he was listening too. "The translator is supposed to convert alien languages into standard galactic. Without it, we should just be hearing raw audio." "Unless," I said, my mind racing, "the translator was actually making things worse. What if it was mistranslating everything, and the Pyrathi were never being aggressive at all?" Quinn's 6 eyes widened. "You're suggesting that our universal translator, the most advanced piece of linguistic technology in the galaxy, was somehow making first contact worse?" "Wouldn't be the first time advanced technology screwed everything up," I muttered, thinking of every combat simulation I'd ever failed. Just then, Admiral Stone walked into the lab. "Cadet Martinez, I thought you were supposed to be off my station by now." "I think there might be a problem with our translation protocols," I said, holding up the broken component. "What if the Pyrathi aren't actually hostile?" Stone raised an eyebrow. "Cadet, I appreciate your enthusiasm, but leave the xenolinguistics to the experts." "Tech specialist Starweaver, how long until the translator is operational?" "Well, Admiral Martinez here has managed to break it in 17 different ways. I'll need at least 48 hours to." "You have 6 hours," Stone interrupted. "The strike team deploys at 1400 hours. As the Admiral left, I stared at the broken translator in my hands. For the first time in my academy career, I'd accidentally stumbled onto something that might actually be important. Of course, nobody would believe me. Why would they trust the girl who couldn't even handle a stylus without causing a technical disaster? But as I listened to those crackling voices in the static, I couldn't shake the feeling that I was hearing something everyone else was missing. The Pyrathi weren't roaring in rage. They were screaming for help. 6 hours later, I was exactly where I belonged, nowhere near the action. While the Academy's elite strike team prepared for their heroic rescue mission, I sat in the command center wearing a headset and a badge that read Support Crew, which was military speak for too incompetent to be trusted with actual responsibilities. "Strike Team Alpha, this is Command." Admiral Stone's voice crackled through the communications array. "You are go for Operation Dragon Slayer. Proceed to Colony 7 and extract all survivors." I watched the tactical display as our best and brightest cadets, led by the ever-confident Zaravex, approached the besieged colony in their sleek combat shuttles. Their mission was simple: get in, save the colonists, and neutralize the Pyrathi threat with extreme prejudice. "This is Alpha Leader," Zara's voice came through clear and cocky. "We have visual on the hostiles. Beginning attack run." On the screen, I could see the Pyrathi circling the colony like massive, crystalline vultures. They were beautiful and terrifying, their scales shimmering with an inner light that seemed to pulse in rhythm with their movements. "Weapons hot," reported Alpha 2. "Firing plasma volleys." The plasma bolt struck the lead Pyrathi and simply bounced off. The creature's scales flared brighter, and it let out a sound that made everyone in the command center wince. "Direct hit, no effect," Alpha 2 reported, his earlier confidence wavering. "Their shields are deflecting everything we throw at them." I leaned forward, listening to the Pyrathi's response through my broken translator. The static was still there, but underneath it I could hear something that sounded almost like concern? Fear? "Alpha Leader, the creatures are surrounding us," came another panicked voice. "They're not attacking, but they're blocking our escape routes." "All back to defensive positions," Zara ordered, command requesting immediate backup. "These things are bigger than the intel suggested." Admiral Stone leaned over the communications console. Strike Team Alpha, attempt to establish communication with the hostiles. Maybe we can negotiate. Roger that, command. Activating Universal Translator now. I watched in horror as the standard greeting protocol was transmitted to the Pyrathi. Through my broken translator, I could hear how it was being received, not as a peaceful greeting, but as what sounded like a declaration of war. The largest Pyrathi reared back and unleashed a sound that shattered windows in the colony below. The other creatures joined in, their combined voices creating a symphony of what everyone assumed was rage. They're getting more aggressive. Alpha 3 shouted. Whatever we just said really ticked them off. No, I whispered, jumping to my feet. You're translating it wrong. Martinez, sit down, barked Captain Rex Ironforge, the tactical officer monitoring the mission. This is not the time for amateur hour. But I could hear what was really happening. The Pyrathi weren't getting angry. They were getting desperate. Their calls weren't threats, they were warnings. They were trying to tell us something, and every time we communicated with them, we were making it worse. Admiral, I said, my voice shaking. I think they're trying to help us. Stone turned to look at me, her expression unreadable. Explain. The broken translator is picking up something different. The Pyrathi aren't attacking the colony. They're protecting it from something else. On the tactical display, Alpha Team was trapped in a standoff with creatures that could have destroyed them in seconds, but were instead just hovering, waiting. Ease. Alpha Leader to command, Zara's voice was tight with confusion. The creatures have stopped advancing. They're just watching us. It's like they're waiting for something. I looked at Admiral Stone, my broken translator crackling with voices that nobody else could understand. I think I know what they're waiting for. What? What? Someone who can actually understand what they're saying. You want to do what? Captain Rex Ironforge looked at me like I just suggested we paint the Academy pink and rename it the Galactic Friendship Center. I want to try talking to them, I repeated, clutching my broken translator. The Pyrathi aren't hostile. They're trying to warn us about something. Martinez, Admiral Stone said slowly, you're a washout cadet who can't even handle basic combat training. What makes you think you can succeed where our best xenolinguists have failed? Because I'm not trying to succeed, I said. I'm just trying to listen. That's when Dr. Melody Brightwater burst into the command center, her wild gray hair looking like she'd been struck by lightning. She was the Academy's leading expert on xenolinguistics, and she had a reputation for being brilliantly eccentric. Admiral Stone, she gasped, waving a datapad. I've been analyzing the Pyrathi communications, and I think we've been making a terrible mistake. Join the club, I muttered. Dr. Brightwater noticed me for the first time. Oh, you must be the cadet who broke the Universal Translator. Fascinating work, really. Your accident has revealed some interesting linguistic anomalies. I'm sorry, what? Captain Ironforge interrupted. The broken translator is revealing anomalies? Oh yes, Dr. Brightwater said, her eyes lighting up. The Universal Translator works by imposing human linguistic structures on alien languages. But the Pyrathi don't communicate like we do. They use harmonic resonance patterns, emotional frequencies, and temporal syntax structures that our technology can't properly process. So the translator was making things worse? I asked. Exponentially worse. Every time we tried to communicate, we were essentially shouting gibberish at them. No wonder they seemed agitated. Admiral Stone rubbed her temples. Dr. Brightwater, are you telling me that Cadet Martinez's clumsy accident has solved a xenolinguistic problem that our best technology couldn't? I'm telling you that sometimes the best solutions come from the most unexpected places, Dr. Brightwater said. And right now, Cadet Martinez is the only person who can hear what the Pyrathi are actually trying to tell us. I held up my broken translator as it crackled with more Pyrathi voices. They keep saying something about the Great Burning and the Star Killer. I think they're trying to warn us about some kind of cosmic disaster. This is insane, Captain Ironforge said. You want to risk interstellar war based on the linguistic theories of a failed cadet and her broken equipment? Captain, Admiral Stone said quietly, our current strategy isn't working. Our strike team is trapped, our colonies are under threat, and we're no closer to understanding what the Pyrathi want. At this point, what do we have to lose? Through the broken translator, I could hear the Pyrathi voices growing more urgent. Whatever they were trying to warn us about, it was getting closer. Admiral, I said, I think we need to go to them. Not with weapons, not with perfect technology, but with the willingness to actually listen. Absolutely not, Captain Ironforge said. I'm not authorizing a diplomatic mission led by a cadet who can't even. Can't even what? I interrupted. Can't even fight. Can't even follow orders. Can't even use equipment without breaking it. I held up the crackling translator. Maybe that's exactly what we need right now. Maybe the reason nobody can talk to the Pyrathi is because everyone's too busy trying to be perfect. Dr. Brightwater clapped her hands together. Brilliant. A diplomatic mission based on authentic communication, rather than technological superiority. It's so crazy it just might work. Admiral Stone looked at the tactical display, where Alpha Team was still trapped in their standoff with the Pyrathi. Dr. Brightwater, you'll accompany Cadet Martinez as her linguistic advisor. Captain Ironforge, you'll provide tactical support. Ma'am, Ironforge protested, this is suicide. Maybe, Stone said, but if Martinez is right, and the Pyrathi are trying to warn us about something, then suicide might be the least of our problems. As the command center erupted in preparations for the most unconventional diplomatic mission in Academy history, I listened to the Pyrathi voices crackling through my broken translator. They sounded scared. And that scared me more than anything else. Standing on the bridge of a diplomatic shuttle heading toward the Pyrathi homeworld, I realized that speaking dragon wasn't just a metaphor. The Pyrathi language was literally draconic, all growls, roars, and harmonic frequencies that made my teeth ache. Remember, Dr. Brightwater whispered as we approached the massive crystalline structures that covered the Pyrathi homeworld. Their language is based on emotional resonance. Don't think about what you want to say. Think about what you want to feel. Great, I muttered, watching the approaching dragons through the viewport. No pressure. The Pyrathi homeworld was beautiful in a way that made you forget to breathe. Crystal spires twisted up from the surface like frozen music, and the air itself seemed to shimmer with energy. Hundreds of Pyrathi circled the structures, their scales catching the light of their binary suns. Incoming transmission, reported our pilot. It's actually, I have no idea what it is. Through my broken translator, I could hear the lead Pyrathi speaking. Its voice was ancient, tired, and surprisingly sarcastic. More small creatures come with their noisemakers, the voice said. Do they bring more of their painful word shapes? I don't think so, I said aloud, hoping the translator worked both ways. We brought our most broken word shaper instead. There was a pause. Then what I could only describe as cosmic laughter. A small creature with humor sense, the voice said. How refreshing. Come, broken speaker. We have much to discuss and little time remaining. Our shuttle was guided to a landing platform carved from a single enormous crystal. As we disembarked, I found myself face to face with the largest Pyrathi I'd ever seen. It was the size of a small building, with scales that shifted color based on its mood and eyes that held the weight of millennia. You are the one who breaks things to make them work better, it said, its voice resonating through my bones. I am Keth Moran, Elder of the Flame Touched. We have been waiting for someone like you. Someone like me? I asked, trying not to think about how easily this creature could incinerate me. Someone who understands that perfection is the enemy of truth, Keth Moran replied. Your people's word shapers are too clever, too precise. They translate our meanings into your expectations, not our reality. Dr. Brightwater stepped forward, her eyes wide with wonder. The universal translator imposes human linguistic structures on alien languages. but you communicate through emotional harmonics and temporal syntax. Your mind shaper understands, Keth Moran said approvingly. But understanding is not enough. The great burning approaches, and we need your small creatures to help us stop it. The great burning? I asked, though I had a sinking feeling I knew what he meant. Keth Moran's scales shifted to a deep, worried purple. Your sun watchers have seen it, yes? The star killer that devours light itself? It approaches your colonies and ours and all the small worlds between. Captain Ironforge, who had been suspiciously quiet during our exchange, suddenly spoke up. You're talking about the dark matter anomaly our scientists detected in the Outer Rim. But that's just a theoretical phenomenon. Tell that to the 17 star systems it has already consumed, Keth Moran said dryly. We have been trying to warn your people, but every time we approach, you attack us or flee. We cannot stop the star killer alone. But why didn't you just explain that? I asked. How does one explain the concept of stellar consumption to creatures who communicate through simplified noise patterns? Keth Moran asked. It would be like trying to describe color to beings who see only in light and dark. So you've been protecting our colonies, I said. The pieces finally falling into place, not attacking them. We have been trying to evacuate them before the star killer arrives, Keth Moran confirmed. But your people resist and time grows short. I looked at Dr. Brightwater and Captain Ironforge, both of whom were staring at the massive dragon with a mixture of awe and terror. What do you need from us? I asked. We need your people to stop shooting at us long enough for us to save them, Keth Moran said. And we need your strange ability to break things in useful ways. The star killer can only be stopped by disrupting its quantum coherence field. Your people's technology is too precise, too stable. We need something that works by accident. You want me to break something to save the galaxy? I asked. I want you to be exactly what you are, Keth Moran replied. The small creature who succeeds by failing, who finds truth by abandoning perfection. For the first time in my life, being a complete disaster was exactly what the universe needed. 3 months later, I stood in my new office as the Academy's first director of interspecies communication, staring at a wall covered with broken universal translators. Each one had been deliberately damaged in a different way, creating unique linguistic filters that allowed us to communicate with species we'd never even known existed. Director Martinez, came a familiar voice from the doorway. You have a visitor. I turned to see Zara Vex, the reptilian cadet who used to call humans evolutionary mistakes. Now she was holding a data pad and looking nervous. What can I do for you, Zara? I was hoping you might consider me for the new xenolinguistics program, she said, her earlier arrogance replaced by genuine respect. I've been studying your communication techniques, and I think I might have a talent for breaking things constructively. I couldn't help but smile. Constructive failure is harder than it looks, but I'll consider your application. As Zara left, Dr. Brightwater poked her head into the office. Luna, we've got 3 new species requesting diplomatic contact. The Crystalline Collective, the Void Whispers, and something called the Fractal Consciousness. All former hostile species? I asked. All former misunderstood species, she corrected. It turns out that when you stop trying to impose your own communication methods on aliens, they become remarkably friendly. Through my office window, I could see the new joint human Pyrathi research station orbiting the Academy. The dark matter anomaly had been successfully disrupted 3 weeks ago, using a combination of Pyrathi harmonic technology and human quantum instability generators. Or as I like to call them, really expensive things that work better when they're broken. Tommy Tank Rodriguez knocked on my door frame. Hey Luna, the Pyrathi delegation is here for the cultural exchange program. Also, Commander Thornwall wants to know if you're still interested in combat training. Tell the commander I'll stick to combat linguistics, I said. It's much more dangerous. As Tommy left, I picked up my original broken translator, the one that had started everything. It still crackled with residual energy, still picked up conversations from across the galaxy, still worked perfectly by being completely broken. Admiral Stone appeared in my doorway, looking amused. I just received a report that you've established communication with a hive mind species that communicates through interpretive dance. Please tell me you didn't break another piece of equipment. Actually, Admiral, I broke 3 pieces of equipment. But the synchronized malfunction created a pattern that the hive mind interpreted as a formal greeting. Of course it did, Stone said, shaking her head. Any other species trying to make contact? Well, I said, grinning, there are these energy beings from the Andromeda Galaxy who seem to communicate through deliberate technological failures. I think they might be trying to tell us something. Let me guess, Stone said. You need to break something expensive to find out what they're saying. Admiral, I don't break things, I said, holding up my crackling translator. I just help them reach their full potential. As Stone left, muttering about budget reports and insurance claims, I listened to the voices crackling through my broken translator. The galaxy was full of species trying to communicate, trying to reach out, trying to be understood. And all it took was someone willing to fail spectacularly enough to hear them. I opened my desk drawer and pulled out a brand new universal translator, still in its original packaging. With a grin, I picked up a stylus and approached the device. After all, I had a galaxy to talk to, and the best way to start any conversation was with a really spectacular failure. The translator sparked, crackled, and began picking up a transmission from somewhere in the Magellanic Clouds. The voice was tentative, hopeful, and speaking in a language that sounded like crystallized mathematics. Hello, it said. Is anyone out there? We've been trying to reach you for so long. I smiled and picked up my microphone. This is Luna Martinez, Director of Interspecies Communication. We've been waiting for you to call. Because sometimes the best way to speak the language of dragons is to first learn the language of being perfectly, beautifully broken. And humanity? We'd always been excellent at that.